Hello and welcome to day 16 of my craft room clear out series. I'm Sarah Jane from Cards and a Cuppa, and in this series I'll be using my stamp sets one last time before I say goodbye. Today I've got this great birthday set, which I'm going to do some heat embossing today. I was going to do black and gold. Two reasons I'm not. I can't find my gold embossing powder. I must have some somewhere because I have it all in a trug here, but there's no gold in there. Anyway, it's okay, we're going to improvise, and instead we're going to do a summer colourway. So I've got Calypso, Coral, Pool Party and Crushed Curry embossing powders, and so we're going to go along them lines. Now my tip for embossing or embossing powders is to keep separate catchers for each one so that you don't mix up the colours. So as you can see, I've got Coral and Pool Party. Obviously I haven't used Crushed Curry and the pot is pretty full, to be fair. I'll show you. So maybe once or twice by the look of it. When I used to do classes, I used to do a lot of embossing actually. But anyway, I'm just going to use a piece of scrap paper for the Crushed Curry today. And obviously keep to these, so because obviously you still get residue, you see, in the bottom of the card, so you don't want to combine the colours. So let's get started then. So I've got an offcut of a thick Whisper White card here, and I do always use my embossing buddy when I'm embossing. It just stops the embossing powder sticking to the bits where the Versamark isn't. You can use normal ink to emboss, but you have to work really quickly. Versamark is better just because it stays wet for longer, and so it gives the embossing powder time to stick and before you heat it. So I do tend to stick to Versamark and the coloured embossing powder, or you could use Versamark on coloured card, which would give that sort of relief effect. Now the stamps I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use the 3 circle ones here, and I'm going to stamp the whole of this, but I'm probably only going to cut out the bottom section and use that part. So we'll stamp it and see how we get on. It doesn't really matter which way up you stamp these, because obviously I'm going to punch them out. You could probably die cut them as well if you wanted, but I'm going to punch them out today. I've got a scallop circle punch. Now also, if you're going to do different colours, you need to stamp and emboss before you stamp again, because otherwise your powders are going to get mixed up. So I've got Pool Party at the top here, so let's do this in Pool Party. And pop that away before we get the heat tool out. And then I'm just going to dust off my desk as well. And then heat emboss this. So when you heat emboss, if you don't already know, you hold the heat tool over the stamped image until it melts, and then move it along. Don't waft the heat tool around, so stay and melt and move like that. So I will speed this up and turn the noise off, because it is quite loud, especially for camera. So you can see I went underneath as well. It just flattens out the card a little, and repeat the process for each stamp. the happy birthday one. I think I might do that in silver. Another tip when you're heat embossing is to keep a small paintbrush just for embossing powders, just if you need to remove some of the embossing powder around the edge or anywhere it may have stuck where your tool hasn't stopped the static. Occasionally you just need to just do that, but I keep separate ones just for powder, just because you don't want to be using them for watercolour or anything, so just keeps them separate nicely. Now I'm going to punch these out using the 1 3/8 circle scallop circle punch. And then I'm going to cut this out. I'm actually going to use my trimmer, I think, because I want to keep it quite square. So I'm going to line up the edge of that sentiment with the edge of this guide here. Hopefully then we'll get the same sort of gap either side. Maybe I'll use the edge of this. Right, so let's just make this into a card. Now I've gone for I think I might do a white card with a pool party band across it, and I've found some coral ribbon to match and a little blue button from way back. Blue button, I'm going to thread that with some of this white. This is much finer thread, so I think I'll just thread that first. From the top of the first, next to it, underneath, diagonal opposite, and then back up through the empty one. And that'll give you a little crisscross underneath your bow. There we go. And score at 14.8. Looking at this, I'm going to be looking at about 7.5 centimetres high for my pool party strip. So I'm going to cut it down at 10.5 to start with, so that I can then use the other half for a card base later on. And then cut at 7.5 here. Be nice with a little scallop border, wouldn't it, across the bottom? Let's have a look what I can do with that. Looks like I've got a scallop one in the peony set of dies. Not sure what stamp set that comes with, but I will endeavour to look at some point. So I'm just going to die cut a strip across there, and then I'll trim it once I've die cut it. So this is Calypso Coral card. Oh, that's pretty, isn't it? So I'll just trim that. just attach that to the back of there. And then I'm going to wrap some twine around it. I'm going to add that with foam pads. I'll add this one with foam pads and the rest flat. So I'm doing a video every day in this series, and I don't pre-make my cards, so sometimes there's going to be a few little errors, and you will see my design process as we're going. I think, for example, I'm not going to use this button today because it just doesn't really need it, this card, but that's part and parcel of this process, is that I will be making these cards as we're filming. So there's nothing pre-planned here. It's just to have some fun with the stamp sets that I've got. So I hope you're enjoying them. Like I say, there's a video every day, Monday to Friday, on YouTube with the full works of me making them. And then additionally, I pop some pictures and reels on Facebook and Instagram. So you're welcome to follow me over there. Like and subscribe on YouTube. It doesn't cost anything, and it just helps boost me up your recommendations so that you don't miss any videos. So that's today's heat embossed birthday card for you. I hope you've enjoyed today's video tutorial. So thanks for watching today. Bye bye.